Hey guys, good afternoon. In this video, I'm going to rebuild my Blue Ox tow bar. Your requirements or product may be different. Seek professional assistance in all cases. Step 1 is to remove the wire tie, using care not to cut the rubber boot. Next, pull the rubber boot back from the pivot leg. Make sure that split pin is still fully in place and not loosened. If it's sticking up, it can rip the boot. Drop some penetrating oil around the split pin if you have it. If you don't, machine oil will work. Using a 5mm or so punch, knock out that drift pin. It shouldn't require a lot of force. This unit had a fair amount of old dried grease and dirt covering it. Scrape that off really good. Then remove the triple yokes for both sides. Be sure to mark which yoke belongs to which rod for ease of reassembly later. And once you get it apart, inspect the bolts, nuts, and the plastic washers for any wear or damage. Clean the rust from the parts. I used Evapo-Rust, but you can use whatever you like. Next, remove the machine hold-up bolt. Clean off the dried grease and inspect those threads carefully. And also look for any signs of wear or damage to the pin itself. Then, remove the plastic spacers or washers, set them aside for cleaning and inspection, and possible replacement. Inspect the square plastic covers. This one's broken, and I have replacement parts on order. They should be here within a week. Even though the split pin has been removed, years of rust and corrosion, along with the original Loctite that was used, will probably make persuasion necessary to remove this pivot leg. I used a pipe wrench and a cheater to persuade this one. This isn't an air cylinder, and the stroke doesn't reach the area with the wrench marks. I'm not worried about small scratches. Once you have the leg removed, check the threads very carefully and clean out all of the debris and Loctite really good. Now, remove the remaining wire tie on the rubber boot. Check the rod movement for any abnormal action, noise. This one, although it's been dry for a long time, it appears in good condition. Using a solvent, clean off the old dried grease. Check the threads for any deformation or damage. The pivot is held in place by the split pin, so there should be no damage to the threads. If there is, it's possible your unit has been repaired, subpar, and the pivot leg threads could also be damaged. Don't reuse any damaged parts. Replacement parts are available. Once I start cleaning up the rust on the housing and areas close to the rod sills, I don't want debris entering the rod body, so I use plumber's putty to make a temporary sill. Once the machined hold-up bolt has been cleaned thoroughly, inspect it carefully for any wear or damage. Again, replace it if there is any wear, i.e., if your fingernail can snag in a groove, replace it. This one is good. Years of exposure and neglect have put some rust and surface imperfections on this thing. Use a soft brush and some sandpaper to remove any scale, loose paint, rust. Check the tabs or yokes for any damage or wear. To save your time, I've cleaned up and painted everything off of camera, and now we can start reassembly by removing the masking tape and the plumber's putty. Notice that one end of this rubber boot has a larger opening than the other. Insert that large hole first on the rod, and do not attach the boot to the body yet. You'll see why later. And to make alignment easier, use a Sharpie and make a mark on both sides of the split pin hole on the rod. It's very helpful. Use your punch and rough align the pivot leg to the rod. Then gently drive the split pin in. Don't force it. If you've aligned it correctly, it will be an interference fit, but it will move in easily. Use a lithium grease for its water repelling ability. And lubricate the rod well, but not overdone. There's just no need. Cycle the rod a few times using wire ties. Attach the boot to the rod body first, then compress the rod and attach the boot to the pivot leg. Clean the old grease from the cast yoke and the swivel lug, inspecting those for any cracking, damage, abnormal wear. These are just dirty, no significant wear. Clean your workspace also to remove that old dried grease and debris. Then rough align your parts, remembering to put the spacers and washers in place. Drive the hold-up pin into place and tighten. Keep in mind though, do not over-tighten. This is a nylock nut, and tightening too much will restrict the range of motion, which is needed for correct operation. Just tighten it so that the joint allows free motion of both rod arms. Reattach the triple lug and the pivot yokes, and again, these are nylock nuts. Leave just enough looseness in that joint to allow free motion while eliminating any unnecessary or excess play. Then, when you're done, lubricate the wear surfaces with white lithium spray grease. Let this grease film over for a day or so. Then, another application is advised. Once tightening is complete, use a permanent paint marking pen and mark across all threaded joints and onto the equipment body. This allows for a quick visual check and inspection to determine if there's any looseness in the joint. Once everything is reassembled and back together, use a solvent and remove any grease from the rod body area where the decals will go, and carefully apply the decal. That's all there is to it. I hope you found something useful in this video. It may help you inspect or repair your tow system. Until next time, guys, be a good human. Take care.